Well, people, like I said, I was going to bring a special guest today, and here we go. Here we go. We have a football con BamBam. I have a special guest today. I hope you enjoy it much as I enjoyed to talk about football with him. This guy is amazing. He knows a lot about football, and I hope you just enjoy the show as same as I enjoyed it making it. So don't miss out. Let's get started. Muy buena, mi gente, aquí nos encontramos nuevamente en otro programa de fútbol con BamBam.
Dentro del área, golpea Petit, Zidane y gol. Ha marcado Zidane el 1-0 para Francia.
Welcome everybody, and here we go again. This is Football con BamBam, and like I promised earlier today, I'm bringing one of the experts, one of my friends, one of the guys who's actually very knowledgeable, and of course, he's a Barcelona fan. So you know that's always amazing just to bring. But he's not only a Barcelona fan expert, he also dominates most of all the world's different countries and football. So he's very, very, very knowledgeable in football. This is a pleasure to have him here on our show. Tito, thank you so much for participating in our show. I know you had the pleasure to do this in Spanish with me, but today is going to be our first time. It's our debut doing it in English. How you feel today?
Oh, really nice. I didn't know about that. Well, BamBam, thanks for having me. And hello to your audience and everyone. It's a pleasure to be this the second time participating in your podcast and your program. So let's talk about football.
Hey, and that's all we want, because everybody's so paying attention consistently. They just want to know about all the news. And listen, we just started the Champions League. We know that the Champions League actually had a long period because of the World Cup and everything. That, of course, we had over 100 days that we didn't enjoy about this. We knew the crosses. We knew who the teams are going to face. We already got excited. We know already, like PSG against Bayern Munich. We have Real Madrid, Liverpool. We have Barcelona, Manchester United, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on today. But let's talk about the start, because we had already a great start by all the four matchups that actually occurred between yesterday and today. Has been very pleasurable, and we'll start first with the main cup. We'll start with Bayern Munich versus PSG, and Bayern Munich actually went to Paris, having a Paris who's been 21 games, who's never been outscored or left with zero, with no score. They had 21 games that actually went on that never received scoreless. The last game that they had scoreless was 21 games ago. We have 41 games that the Paris Saint-Germain has never lost on their local, as a local home team game. So this is incredible that Bayern Munich actually came inside with the deficiencies, because we saw Thomas Müller a little bit injured. We saw how, right now, the loss of Lewandowski, we've seen how that happened pretty much for Bayern. And Bayern actually came out with a victory. Tell me a little bit about that game, Tito.
So that game is definitely, I think is one of the closest matches, like on all the whole fixtures that this round has. And they have played before. And when I saw it as like a 50-50 thing, I thought that it was going to be complicated for Paris to kind of like dominate, because they were so insecure. Like Mbappe was not starting. Neymar, there was also a doubt, but it was Neymar only playing. Messi was also doubtful, so because he had an injury previously. So it was going to be a steep hill for Paris Saint-Germain to pull it off. And Bayern, it's a legend. Bayern is one with the most titles. As I think right now they're like third or fourth with most titles on the champions. So they're a completely veteran team. So they know what they're doing. Paris Saint-Germain, even though they hit a final, they have not won yet a Champions League, and that's like their main goal of this project. But the good news is that now the away goal, it doesn't count like double goals like before, so they can go ahead and go to Allianz Arena and kind of like bring their game, try to see how they could make that great combination that you have between Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi. So they have to make it work this time. So the good thing is it's going to be in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be in March. So it's plenty of time for the team to get ready to, it's going to be, I believe it's going to be, March 8th. So
and Mbappe is going to be healthier, because you saw Mbappe, as soon as he came inside, he just turned around the whole game completely. So he's a beast of a player.
He makes a difference. Yeah, he makes a complete difference when he's on the court. Regardless whether he comes from the bench, whether he's a starter, you know that he's a differentiator when it comes to the game. So I still put it 50-50. We don't know what happens. We know that Bayern Munich, it's kind of a machine when they're playing home. But on the other hand, they haven't had they have not been so dominant like previous years. Like it's not the Guardiola era where they won
I
the
know.
Bundesliga in March already. So this time they have some competition. They have Berlin behind them. They have a few couple of teams that they're not dominating like by many points. So Bayern Munich is also trying to take care of their league at the same time as the Champions League. So that could be an advantage that a PSG can take from then and maybe get the other next to the other round.
No, and you're going to see how difficult it is because both of these teams actually are very offensive. They're actually very high power completely. So it's going to be very interesting. That's one of the matchups that I'm looking for. And of course, if you have me, in my opinion, I want Paris Saint-Germain to get eliminated because I love to see when the superpower comes in and loses like that. It's just amazing, especially after you saw what happened this last summer where they left us hanging completely on one of the signatures. But hey, that's all just aside. We'll talk another conversation about that. Now let's talk about a little bit about Milan against Tottenham. We saw Milan actually playing at home, doing 1-0. How do you see that game? Because it wasn't a great week for the English league.
So in this case, Tottenham, it's also fighting on the Premier League to get into European, on the table to get qualified for European tourneys. So that's always a struggle when you play Premier League football. You're always going to be fighting to get just a shot to play in the Champions League or Europa League. And now that this time we have seen like newcomers like Newcastle now qualified fighting for Champions League. So it's not the big six thing. It's over. You have Brighton having a great season as well. So you have so many teams fighting to get on those higher positions in the table that we know that they have to focus on that as well. Milan, they're a legend when it comes to Champions League tournaments. They recently came back finally after winning a Serie A last year. So they're going to do everything as possible and kind of like winning on San Siro, getting a 1-0, score. It's going to be that this result is very, very good for them. Now, on the other hand, Tottenham Stadium, it's kind of difficult for some teams. So let's see how they can work it out and see how Harry Kane goes. Because that's the thing with Harry Kane and Tottenham as well, is like they can either beat you 4-0 or they can just simply not score anything. So we'll have to see what they're going to pull up the sleeve, what's going to be Conte's game plan for it. He's a veteran. He used to play against Milan when he was either with Inter or when he was in Juventus. So he knows how this team plays. So that's another advantage that he has to take. So let's see what happens. But I look at very close. It's a really close and tough match to see, who goes after that.
No, you saw the away game right now. You saw how Brahim Diaz with Theo Hernandez actually shot to the goal. Sommer stopped it. Brahim Diaz hits it. Sommer hits it again, and then Brahim hits it inside. So, the goal wasn't actually something that they created. It wasn't a very dominant game from Milan. So it's going to be interesting how they go back to England and see how they can actually go out and outperform there. Now, let's continue. Another matchup that it wasn't positive for the English league, and you'll talk a little bit about that, but it's Borussia Dortmund versus Chelsea. They were playing in Germany. It sounded like the crowd was not pretty into the game at one point, and you saw like Bellingham trying to hype them up. You saw everything going on through the raw, but they came out with the victory. They came out with the 1-0. How did you see that game pretty much?
So in this case, Chelsea, it's a team under construction. And right now with the new administration, with the new owner, all the money on all the people they have brought in, it's kind of like playing FIFA Ultimate Team.
Yeah,
kind of like just bring a lot of cards and kind of see what matches and what doesn't. So I think that's the disadvantage that Chelsea has there. They're gonna go back and play at Stamford Bridge. Let's see how it goes for them. But I think that in this case that it has an upper hand for Borussia Dortmund. They're a little bit more cohesive. They have been playing together for more time versus Chelsea that incorporated Enzo Fernandez, Joao Felix in the last market. They bought also different
Mikel
talent.
Mudryk, yeah.
Mudryk. So they have this
Fofana, they
all
got a
these
lot of
players. They have a lot of players, and also you have Graham Potter, which
I know.
started even like mid-season, like a third, fourth week of the season started, so he didn't even have a preseason. So it's really tough for Chelsea to go up. I think they're gonna still focus to see if they can make it to European tournaments. Um, except maybe if they pass on this one, they can say, hey, we might have a chance for Champions League, which I don't think so, but they can go all in so they can classify for next year. But reality is that they have to do a better job at the Premier League, because right now they're sitting on a low part of the table, almost at half of it. So they haven't had the best results since the season started. It's been, I will say, a bit downhill for them. So I think they need to also focus when it comes to it. Right now, they are number 10 in the table. They're almost at the bottom half of the Premier League, with Liverpool in ninth place as well. So I think it's a very tough thing for Chelsea. Let's see if they can overcome that. But I think that Borussia Dortmund has the upper hand in this fixture.
Oh, that sounds like an interesting thing, and we're going to keep in mind on that. Now, the last game that actually occurred, which was today, was Club Brugge versus Benfica. We know already that Benfica lost one of their main stars pretty much prior to this game. However, Benfica overcame this matchup with 2-0. Didn't look as pretty, but then we have to remember Benfica comes from the group also with Paris, if my mind doesn't mistaken me right now, and they were in first place pretty much with Paris. So it was. It's pretty interesting to see them at this phase. How do you think about that matchup?
So I think it's a very easy and feasible fixture for this club in Benfica, because Club Brugge is usually, you never see them going past maybe eighth or a quarterfinals. But I don't see why Benfica cannot go straight ahead, especially with this year. This season, the Champions League, they did great. Like you mentioned, they were at the top of the group ahead of PSG, which you would expect PSG to completely dominate. They had a goal difference of 9. They scored 16 goals as well. So they had a very offensive team in this tournament. So I don't see why they're not going to do better. And even they're going to be playing at home on the next fixture. So they even went to result with this result of 0-2. Visiting Belgium. So now when they go back home, I think they can probably, there's probably, who knows, they make 4 or 5 goals. So
it's gonna be amazing.
We've seen so who knows what they're gonna do, but I don't see how. I cannot see like Doctor Strange. Like I have seen like 13 million times, and Benfica passes and all of them. Who knows?
No,
Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see Club Brugge going through this one, and that I'll see that Benfica will make it on the quarterfinals. Let's see. Who knows if this is the year they break the curse? Who knows?
Well, maybe they can go further. They actually have a really good squad, and they've been solid. Of course, they lost one of the main stars, as we know already, but you know they got paid. They got paid pretty well with it. So now, let's talk,
definitely.
Let's talk about a little bit about what's left on the Champions League, which is going to be next week, and you have Real Madrid, Liverpool, Frankfurt Eintracht versus Napoli. You have Leipzig from against Man City, and Inter versus Porto. How do you see those matches?
So Liverpool, Real Madrid, definitely I see Real Madrid going through this one. Liverpool, if you would tell me like this is gonna be 2018 Liverpool, then I probably would tell you a different thing. But they're ninth right now in the Premier League. They're struggling a lot to just get back in the game. Probably Jurgen Klopp didn't expect that Sadio Mane leaving the team was going to be such a big pocket that they left. And even though they have Salah, they brought Darwin Nunez, who was expected to have this rivalry with Haaland, but hasn't given any results. Luis Diaz being injured, which for me has been one of the best incorporations for the team. Yeah, and for me, the Colombian has been one of the best signings that Liverpool has done in a while. You can see him playing. He got signed actually on the last on the winter also market on the last year, and that kid came in and he looked like he's been playing Liverpool for 4 or 5 years already. So it's a shame to have them all these injuries that they have had, the style of pressing game. Now with almost all this new coaches and new styles and all this evolution in the English football, everyone plays high pressure football. So it's
I
not,
know.
they don't have that anti-up. So they don't have that upper hand that they used to have then, where just beat you using this high pressing football, and also having the flanks with Alexander-Arnold and Robertson going all the way, and you attacking probably with 5 attackers. It's not working anymore. Like, people are reading that game, and also with those injuries and players and positions that you're missing, it's really hard for Liverpool to overcome that. They might perhaps get a result, maybe score 1 goal in Anfield, because we know Anfield is really important for Liverpool, but Real Madrid is the legend. They're the master. This is their tournament. And we have seen countless of time how Real Madrid plays Estadio Santiago Bernabeu. So Liverpool has to do their best. I think the Real Madrid shouldn't have any issues or any problems playing in Anfield. Maybe even if they lose, I don't think it's gonna go with a clean sheet game. So even if they lose, I think it's or maybe a tie, but I don't see Real Madrid not going through the quarterfinals with this kind of Liverpool that we have this season.
Okay, and we know the Jurgen Klopp, actually, he has a curse for some reason. I think it is year number 6 that I believe, if my mind doesn't fail me, that is his year right now with Liverpool. He's had the same experience where he went with Borussia Dortmund. He actually had 5 successful years. When it came to the 6th, that was his downfall. It's going the same thing with Liverpool. He had 5 amazing years with Liverpool, and now he's entering to the 6th. He's starting to find a little bit more hassle for him. So for some reason, it comes out to be that at one point, it seems like these coaches, they just lose out of word. We've seen it with Guardiola eventually in some of the clubs. We saw it eventually when he started. We've seen Zidane having the same issue in effect when he was doing Real Madrid also as well. So, it's kind of weird, right? It's kind of weird, but that's how football works. Let's continue the topic. You have Napoli, who's actually leading the Italian league. How do you see that game against Inter?
So it's a really interesting matchup for this teams. Like you mentioned, Napoli's having a great year. They're way clear ahead. I think it's 14 points, I think, right now on the Serie A. So I think they can, having that cushion is going to let them focus completely on the Champions League. And even though they're not going to be favorites to win in the championship, I believe that they're going to give their best, because every time you move from face to face, if you make quarterfinals, semifinals, you still get money. And if you add that money from Champions League, and also if you win the title, you're going to get also that injection of money. So all that money coming in, I think it's more than a great incentive for Napoli to just keep pushing and try to overcome and kind of like get over this one. On the other hand, Frankfurt won Europa League last year, so they it's not like every now and then that you see Frankfurt playing Champions League, so they're gonna do their best. Now, with the good momentum, I don't see why Napoli cannot go through it. And like I mentioned, this cushion is gonna help them. Like, hey, let's just focus on Champions League. If we lose 5-6 points, it's not gonna affect us too much. Seeing how the other teams or the shape of the other teams are doing and how they're doing on Serie A. So I think Napoli should go as without any inconvenience. They should make it to quarterfinals.
That's awesome. And just to clarify, it is 15 points actually ahead of Inter right now. So it's an interesting.
15?
It's an interesting.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
So it's an interesting buffer. Yeah, it's 59-44. So it's going to be interesting. Now you get to see one of the teams that is in the momentum, who had a great game today, which we're talking about, Man City, who actually played against Arsenal and is knocking on that door for that leadership in the Premier League. How do you see that game against Leipzig?
Leipzig, I think City shouldn't have any issues or any troubles. We know that sometimes they have had those upsets, but I don't think this time is not one of them. Pep Guardiola has a very depth of squad. He has a very deep squad. He has been rotating a lot of players, bringing a kid like Rico Lewis to play as a back defender. He also is kind of like putting Nathan Ake to play on the left back position, and also kind of like rotating these rotations with the players. And I haven't seen not many people talk about it. I think no one is reporting this way because they say like it's Guardiola is not getting along with his players or whatever, but no one has a speculator and maybe kind of like thought like, hey, they might be Pep might be rotating and doing all this so he can get everyone in shape because now with the Champions League they're gonna be playing every 3 to 5 days. So that's when you need to, to see, okay, I need Erling to play this game. No, I'm going to need Mahrez to play. No, I'm going to have Gundogan and Bernardo. So he has to make sure that all his players are in great shape. So that way, when that happens, they can just, dominate it. But I think that the advantage here is that Leipzig is not going to be, it shouldn't be any trouble for Man City. They shouldn't have any issues. We've seen how they do. Maybe they lose when they go to Germany because it has happened. But then when they go back to Etihad, we can see probably Erling Haaland transforming into the Super Saiyan and kind of like doing a hat trick.
And when they're at
like
home, we've seen how good they are when they're at home. They're very powerful, very offensive, especially now that they have a real nine who's doing an amazing job like Erling Haaland right now. It's amazing. I think Pep Guardiola's in a really good position for this game. I do agree with you also. I think Man City, when they saw this matchup, they probably felt very confident about what's going on. Now, let's go to see with that last game, because I think this game is very balanced between Inter and Porto. What do you think about that matchup?
I think this is one of the closest one, aside from the PSG Bayern Munich one. I think it's a very close one. Both teams, they already have won the Champions League. I think Inter has to focus and try to do their best to win at home. They have to do it because when they go back to Porto, it's going to probably be more difficult for them. So they haven't had Inter is also, when it comes to them, they're kind of like fighting on also second, but like you mentioned, it's 15 points. So it's quite hard. So I think Inter is going to put everything they can to just make sure that they can go ahead and jump because Porto right now, it's more focused on, can be also focused on the league because right now they're just 5 points behind Benfica. So I think Inter can just go ahead and push as much as they can. They need the money, like the same thing as Napoli. If they can just every phase they can just go ahead, they're gonna make more money for them. So I don't see why. It's a 50-50 thing. I couldn't say specifically like so confidently. I say like Inter's gonna pass or Porto's gonna pass. So I think I'm gonna plead the fifth on this one.
No, and I think we will have another conversation eventually down the road. We have really amazing matches coming up. We have that Clásico that which me and you will probably get together again to talk about the Cup of Kings and then the league. Let's talk about a little bit about Manchester United versus Barcelona, because I know that's the caviar. That's actually the main take game that is going to be tomorrow, and it's going to be the game that every eyes is going to be focused on. Tell me a little bit about that.
So it's a Champions League played on a Champions League fixture playing on Thursday. I would say it's a match that we've seen before. 2 finals for Barcelona against Manchester United 2009, 2011. So it's good to see them back. And what I like about this fixture is that the teams both the teams are in the same position, and not in the table wise, but the project wise. So Eric Ten Hag, newcomer, new project this season. Xavi Hernandez starting from the beginning this season. So basically, it's like perhaps his first year completely as a head coach of Barcelona. Both teams are completely and under construction, and kind of to implement their systems and to see how they're going to play. And a good thing is that both of the teams are doing great, even though Manchester United are not on top, but they're fighting against a project like Man City that they've been playing together for years. This is Mikel Arteta's 3rd year a season as a coach at Arsenal. So also he has finally got his team to run as he wanted. So it's a very hard competition, but taking all that into consideration and just being 6 points behind Arsenal and City, it's a great job that Erik ten Hag has been doing. And not only that, he's got United playing good football, very beautiful football. So I think that's going to be also a very attractive thing that's going to bringing to this fixture. The same thing with Xavi. Xavi right now is 8 points ahead of Real Madrid and La Liga, which is something that Barcelona has need for a morale boost. They need to see like a title as an option for them. this season. So I think it's a very comfortable place where they at. And defensively, they're just a beast right now. Now, unfortunately, they finally recovered Ronald Araujo. They got Jules Koundé, Andreas Christensen, and Alejandro Valde. So that back four line, unfortunately, they were not available for the group stage in Champions League. If they were available, probably would have seen instead of Inter Porto, it could be maybe Barcelona Porto. So unfortunately, they didn't play the luck of the draw. They were not lucky. But right now, they can, the best that they can do if they can win this fixture is something that's going to help Barcelona a lot to go moving forward the upcoming months. But it's going to be very interesting. Both coaches play the Cruyffism, I would say in English.
Cruyffism, yeah.
Cruyffism, yeah. They play the style of Cruyff of positional football. And also fighting and kind of like high pressure football, try to retrieve the ball as fast as they can, trying to play also very vertical and also playing and high attacking football. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be tomorrow played in Camp Nou. So Camp Nou is right now the highest average attendance in any European league. So they're going to be playing that's their 12th player. So I think that Barcelona has to make their best to try to get that victory. So when they go back to Old Trafford, which is a mythical stadium, they feel comfortable. So if they can at least score 2 goals tomorrow, it's going to help them. But also it's a 50-50 thing. Even though I'm rooting for Barcelona to go ahead, but I'll be very honest with you. It's a 50-50 thing on this fixture. What I can guarantee you is going to be very entertaining.
It's going to be an amazing game. Now, let's play a little game a little bit different. Let's assume that you're Xavi right now, Tito. What will be your starting? What will be your starting 11 for tomorrow? And what would you actually tell the squad about how to play the game? What will be your strategy? If you can imagine that.
So on this case, the back four, I will just keep it the way it is. I will put Koundé, Araujo, Christensen, and Valde.
Okay,
it's working great. And also on the mid and the midfield, I would play De Jong and Kessié. The Kessié has been stepping up for his second match, playing the whole night, the whole game.
So two mid contention.
Busquets been injured. Yeah, and
okay.
The good thing is that both of them, that combination with De Jong and Kessié is like De Jong is more like the driving force, and he's a box-to-box player. Same thing is also with Kessié. And the good thing is that now that they have left Kessié to play with more freedom, he's doing a better job. Because I think that was the mistake that Xavi was putting. It was like, hey, no, you're gonna play pivot like the same as Busquets. There's no Busquets. That's the reality. There's no Busquets right now in Barcelona, so you have to make,
and not in a lot of places either. Let's talk about that.
No. Right now, the only player I see kind of like with those characteristics is Rodri, who's playing with Guardiola. But the thing is that Kessié De Jong has been working great. Also, Pedri and Gavi, that those four completely midfielders are doing a great job. So I think I will play that way, and then Lewandowski and Rafinha. That's the best bet you got on your front attackers. So let's see how that goes, and it's highly possible. The only difference that probably we'll see tomorrow is that instead of Valde, they put Jordi Alba, which I understand. Jordi Alba is a complete veteran in this team. He is going to be handling great pressure, but what Alejandro Valde is doing this season is amazing. So I think either one that he puts, I don't think that's going to be an issue. But if you ask me, I would prefer Alejandro Valde to start tomorrow.
No, and he's actually playing amazing because he's a young player. He's been very performing. He's very fast. He's very agile, and he goes back. So something that Jordi Alba used to do when he was a little bit younger, however, has been a little bit slower. We've been seeing that they've been winning on his back a little bit more. So, I like your idea. I like your approach. Now, if you're actually Xavi also, who will be the player that you're more concerned for Manchester United, if any of them?
So I would say the most concerning ones, I would say if Ten Hag plays a 4-2-3-1, I would say those three line with Rashford, Bruno, and Jadon Sancho.
Yeah,
I
touch
think
it.
the dangerous ones. I would say those three, especially Bruno and Marcus Rashford. Rashford, after Cristiano left, that he has have a more starring role when it comes to it. He is playing amazing football. He's scoring a lot of goals. This is very important play for United. So I think Rashford is someone you have to watch out, and also of course Casemiro. He's a titan on the contention and playing also with Fred.
Him and Gavi is
We
gonna
see
have an
what he has
exciting
done.
game. Him and Gavi are
Yeah,
gonna have an
yeah.
exciting game, both of them.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a driving force over there in the midfield, and versus the beginning of the season where we saw Casemiro having issues, kind of like the adaptation to the game, on the role and what Ten Hag was asking. But now he's a driving force, and now with he being a complete veteran, which is basically what Barcelona has with Lewandowski. So I think and the similarities when it comes to veterans and how they have like those iron nerves to handle all the pressure, because both of them have been in finals. Both of them have won Champions League on their teams. Both of them are leaders in their teams. So I think it's good. It's gonna be very balanced when it comes to it. But definitely Bruno Fernandes and Rashford, I would say it's the two that Barcelona have to watch out for them.
And I was going to tell you, one of the reasons that you just mentioned that a great idea will be to start with Balde is when you have Jadon Sancho or you have Rashford coming in
Yep.
through that corners, you're going to have speed. You're going to have people with a lot, and you're going to need that speed, especially if you're going to be attacking, as Barcelona tends to dominate a little bit of the ball. But as you mentioned also, Manchester United loves to dominate the ball also in possession. So it's going to be such an interesting game. You guys cannot miss this game. But anyways, Tito, it's been a complete pleasure to have you right here. I'm really looking forward for the next show that we're going to actually be going. And people, if you want to ask questions to Tito, he already under it right now on the screen. You're going to see his link pretty much for his social media. Feel free to write to him. Feel free to ask him any question. He loves to talk about football. He has a very, very, very vast knowledge about this game. So, I recommend it. I enjoy it. I'm bringing him to my show because I'm trying to bring the best. I'm trying to bring the people who can feed the information to you guys as you expected. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoy so much this show as much as I enjoyed it. And Tito and me are going to come back most likely when it comes to talk about a little bit more about the Clásico, which is going to be 3 exciting games. We're going to be running back again. Right now, he's in cloud 9. He started the year in 2023 giving us a whoop right now. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things go on in the next 3 phases of the game. Tito, thank you so much again for being here in our show. This is your house. You can count on me, and anytime you need me over there in your show as well.
Well, thank you, BamBam. It's been a pleasure for me to be here again with you talking about football. And I know we can spend hours talking about this amazing sports, but definitely we have an appointment. We have to talk about the Clásico later on. So,
yes,
so thanks for having me, and everyone who wants to reach out, feel free, Spanish, English, and let's talk about football. But it's been a pleasure.
Definitely. Thank you guys so much. If you guys like this type of show, hit the comment, leave me your comment. You can write to Tito. You can comment here also, and Tito will respond also as well. I'll let him know that things goes on. But hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, let that bell ring, and I'll see you next time. Welcome again, and thank you so much for being in Fútbol con BamBam. I'll see you till next time. Ciao!